First of all, it's necessary to ask a simple question, one that almost no one likes to face. Honestly, how many years of your life are already committed to a loan? Whether it's a home, a car, education, or any other long-term debt, when you think about it, what comes to mind isn't just money. What really weighs on you is time, months and years of your life that are already defined before you even wake up tomorrow. Most people look at the monthly payment and conclude that if it fits in the budget, then everything is fine. That logic seems reasonable, but it hides an important problem. Being able to pay is not the same as being in control. Often, it just means you've learned how to survive inside a commitment that was designed to last as long as possible. Loans have become so common that they're no longer questioned. It's rare to find someone who doesn't have some kind of long-term debt. This creates a collective sense of normality, as if living in debt were just a natural part of adult life. Little by little, people start to think it's normal to work all month, knowing that part of their effort won't even pass through their own account. Normal to live with money that is already committed the moment it comes in. Normal to organize life around payment due dates. The problem isn't necessarily financing something. The problem is staying stuck in it for years without realizing the real impact that that decision has on your freedom and your peace of mind. When a loan is signed, almost all the attention is focused on the monthly payment. If it feels comfortable, the decision is made. What is rarely considered is that this initial comfort is usually exactly what prolongs the debt. Loans are not structured to end quickly. They are designed to be long, predictable, and easy to accept in everyday life. Lower payments, reduce psychological resistance, make the debt seem harmless, and push the problem into the future. Over time, the person gets used to it. They stop thinking of the loan as something temporary and start treating it as a fixed part of life. There's an important point that almost no one explains clearly. In the first years of a loan, the sense of progress is minimal. You pay month after month, but the balance seems to move very slowly. That's not your imagination. It's a feature of the system. A large part of the initial effort isn't reducing the value of the asset, but sustaining the length of the debt. This dynamic is discouraging, exhausting, and makes many people give up on trying to accelerate repayment. Another little discussed aspect is that no one has an interest in showing you ways to shorten that timeline. The longer you take to pay, the more predictable you become. Predictability is comfortable for those who receive, but draining for those who pay. You spend years living inside a financial routine that doesn't change without realizing how much it limits your future choices. Because of this, an automatic thought often arises. The idea that paying it off faster isn't an option. Many people believe that accelerating a loan requires earning a lot more money, making extreme sacrifices, or living under constant pressure. That thought doesn't come out of nowhere. It's built over time, fueled by mental exhaustion, lack of clarity, and the constant feeling of just reacting to bills. The mistake begins when you try to solve this problem with willpower alone. Some people even try to make extra payments for a while, but soon give up. Not because they don't want to get out of debt, but because they're trying to sustain a big change without changing the system around them. Willpower doesn't last for years. What sustains long-term change is structure. Paying a loan off faster doesn't start with big, isolated payments. It starts with a shift in perception. When the debt stops being seen as something normal and starts being viewed as an ongoing cost of time and energy, decisions change. The person begins to see that each payment represents not just a monthly amount, but a piece of their future freedom. At that point, something important happens. The loan stops feeling like an abstract problem and becomes a logistical challenge. And logistical challenges can be solved with strategy. It's not about suffering or extreme deprivation, but about consistency, going a little beyond the minimum continuously. Is usually more effective than intense, short-lived attempts that end up being abandoned. Every step forward, no matter how small it seems, doesn't just reduce the balance, it reduces the time. And reducing time has a huge emotional impact. When someone starts to see real progress, even if gradual, a sense of control appears that didn't exist before. That feeling completely changes the relationship with money and with debt. Another fundamental point is learning to differentiate real improvements in life from increased commitments. Not everything that looks like comfort brings freedom. Often, it's just another anchor in disguise. Choosing to pay a loan off faster is in many cases, choosing fewer impulses now to have more options later. It's not about living worse, but about living with more intention. Throughout this process, money stops being a constant emotional trigger. Small, unexpected expenses stop turning into crime. Changes in plans stop feeling impossible. Your financial life starts to become more predictable for the person paying, not just for the one receiving. And that generates something extremely valuable: peace of mind. That peace of mind doesn't only appear when the debt ends. It shows up along the way as the remaining time decreases and the sense of control grows. The earlier this shift happens, the earlier its effects show up in daily life. People start sleeping better, planning more calmly, and making less impulsive decisions. Understanding all of this doesn't require advanced technical knowledge. It requires awareness. It requires stopping the automatic acceptance of structures that consume years of your life without question. When that awareness appears, paying a loan off faster stops being a distant dream and becomes a possible construction. When this shift in awareness happens, the way a person deals with their own money starts to change almost silently. It's not a dramatic overnight transformation. It's more like someone who finally realizes they've been walking in circles and calmly decides to choose a different path. The urgency fades, anxiety starts to give way to more rational decisions, and the loan stops taking up so much space in the mind. One of the main reasons loans drag on for so many years is that they blend completely into the routine. The payment becomes just another bill. It goes on autopilot, and everything that goes on autopilot stops being questioned. When that happens, the debt stops being a project with a beginning, middle, and end, and becomes a permanent background to financial life. By bringing the loan back to the center of awareness, the person begins to realize how much small daily choices directly influence the length of the debt. It's not about cutting everything or living in constant deprivation, but about understanding that every decision carries a cumulative impact. The problem is that the negative impact shows up quickly, while the positive impact requires time and consistency. That's why many people give up halfway. They make an effort for a few months, don't see a dramatic difference, and conclude it's not worth it. What they don't realize is that the real effect is happening behind the scenes, in the shortening of the timeline, not necessarily in the visible number at that moment. This lack of perception undermines motivation and reinforces the idea that paying faster is pointless. Another factor that prolongs loans is the lack of clear priority. For many people, the debt is important, but never urgent. There's always something more immediate competing for attention. A spending choice that seems small, a reward after a tough month, a momentary upgrade in lifestyle. All of this seems harmless on its own, but together it keeps the debt alive far longer than necessary. When a person understands that accelerating a loan is, in practice, buying free time in the future, priorities begin to change. The focus stops being only on present comfort and starts to include tomorrow's freedom. This trade-off isn't easy, because it requires thinking beyond the immediate. But that's exactly what separates those who spend years stuck from those who manage to get out earlier. Over time, paying faster stops being a conscious effort and becomes part of the person's financial system. It no longer depends on daily motivation. It depends on previously organized decisions. And when the process becomes automatic, the chance of giving up drops dramatically. As the timeline shrinks, something curious happens. The debt starts to lose the emotional power it once had. It stops being a constant threat and becomes just a number that's being handled. This emotional distance is essential because it allows for calmer, more strategic decisions without desperation or guilt. Another little talked about benefit is the impact on financial. Many people carry a silent weight from being in debt for so long. There's a sense of failure that no one talks about, but that erodes confidence. When the loan truly starts to shrink, that feeling begins to dissolve. The person starts to trust themselves and their decisions more. That confidence spills over into other areas of life. Planning becomes less scary. Thinking about the future stops generating anguish. Money becomes a tool instead of an enemy. All of this happens long before the debt officially ends. That's why paying a loan off faster is not just a financial decision. It's a lifestyle decision. It's choosing to live with less mental noise, less fear, and more room to choose. It's leaving survival mode and gradually entering a mode of building. If you've made it this far, you've already realized this isn't about magic or dangerous shortcuts. It's about understanding the game, adjusting how you play, and staying consistent. Financial freedom doesn't come from a single big event, but from a sequence of conscious decisions made over time. If this content is making sense to you, it's important that it reaches other people who are living this same reality, often in silence. So subscribe to the channel and leave a like. That helps this video reach those who still think spending decades paying off a loan is inevitable. And comment the word asterisk, asterisk time, asterisk, asterisk to show that you made it to the end and that this subject truly matters to you. This simple gesture helps the channel and also reinforces for yourself the commitment to stop letting more years of your life pass by on autopilot.